Welcome to the Money Hour with host Tina Mitchell. Tina Mitchell, MLO 145420, is a licensed loan originator with Highlands Residential Mortgage Limited, NMLS 134871. The views expressed by the speakers on the following program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of Highlands Residential Mortgage Limited, nor are they necessarily endorsed by Highlands Residential Mortgage Limited. Now, in the studio, local mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell.
Welcome to the Money Hour at 11:50 a.m. KKNW, the Saturday, October 1st show. You can also listen to my podcast, Facebook premiere, or you can catch my show on my show YouTube channel. In addition, for more information on upcoming events, you can go to tinamitchellevents.com. I'm your host and local mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, bringing in expert advice and inside knowledge on today's events and how they can affect your money. If you are hearing my show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast. I'm here to answer any questions, or more importantly, to connect you with the two guests that I have on the show today. Please call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. And the lineup for today's show, today I'll be having a panel conversation with my two guests, Cheri Christensen of Decorview and Laurie Hardie of Coach Laurie. Also, I'll be having a conversation with Cheri, Lift Your Shades Without Lifting a Finger. Followed conversation with Laurie, Multiple Streams of Income. Also, if you are watching the show on my Facebook premiere or YouTube channel, I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce my producer over at Hubbard Radio, Benny.
Hi, Tina, and happy October.
Happy October. Thank you.
Are you ready?
What was that?
Are you ready for October?
Well, I think so.
I hope so too.
I hope so. I got all my outdoor furniture packed in, so I don't know if that's good news or bad, but anyways, thank you for everything that you do, Benny, and also my marketing director, Becky.
Hi, Gina. Thank you.
Yeah, big shout out to both of them. This show definitely would not be here if not for everything, the support behind the scenes that I receive from Benny and from Becky. Great information and great guest in studio. For more information on any topic discussed, please call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. And now let's go ahead and start out today's show with a little bit of money chat.
Money.
Tina Mitchell here with your money chat. If the mortgage market was an 80s hit single, You Spin Me Around Like a Record would be topping the charts. Could help be on its way for mortgage bonds? Well, mortgage bonds appears to have found the bottom after a capulation-like move lower on Monday and have a 2-day rally so far, which is something that we haven't seen for quite some time. In a game of chicken, inflation is driving a semi-truck barreling towards the entire world's pocketbook, and the UK was the first to yank the wheel to avert an head-on collision. What that looked like was an immediate reintroduction of Bank of England purchasing long-dated bonds beginning in October. This was off the heels of a 10-year briefing breaking through 4%. Now, the market response was immediate and about face as the 10-year yields have now fallen all the way back to 3.8%. If the U.S. continues to see this volatility and violence in the bonds moving, they may not get very far with QT, and let alone much more with rate hikes. Now, Apartment List released their October national rent report, and it showed that a 0.2% drop in rents this month, which is the first decline this year. The timing of this is a slight dip in the rents are consistent with the season's trend that was typical before for the pre-pandemic years. Rents are now up 7.5% year over year. New home sales, which measure signed contracts and new homes, rose 29% at a 685,000 unit analyzed pace, which was much stronger than the 6% decline expected. There was also a positive revision to the July reading. When taking this into account, sales are up 345 from the original reported number. Sales are now flat on a year-over-year basis, which is a big improvement from the 30% in the previous report. Inventory was a big part of this gain. And with not many existing homes for sale and homeowners not wishing to sell their homes for a much higher interest rate, buyers are flooding to the new home market. There were 461,000 homes for sale at the end of August, but only 49,000 or 10.5% are actually completed. At the current pace of sales, there is a 8.1 months supply. But when you're factoring in the amount of completed homes, the month supply is less than 1 month. Now, pending home sales, which measures signed contracts on existing homes, fell 2% in August, which was in line with expectations. Sales are now down 24% year over year. Mortgage bonds appear to have found a bottom, at least for now. The Mortgage Banker Association released their mortgage application data last week, showing that purchases fell 0.4% last week and are down 29% year to date. Interest rates moved higher from 6.25% to 6.52% and are roughly 3.5% higher than this time last year. Every 1% increase in interest rates is a drop of buying power by 10%. Refinances decreased by 10.9% and are now down 84% year over year. The National Association of Realtors Chief Economist Lawrence Yun sees mortgage rates rising to near 7%, but when inflation comes down, mortgage rates will begin to improve. I believe that this is possible, and I think that come November, when we receive the October inflation data, inflation will begin to drop more significantly. Yoon also believes that home prices will finish the year up 10% and that sales will pick up a bit in the fourth quarter. If we borrow from Newton's law, what goes down must come up. Although this is in mortgage rate ascent, has felt like it's been strapped to a pair of rockets aimed towards Pluto. Do we even acknowledge that planet? The question is if things has any reserve in the tank, or if we're going to begin to fall back into orbit. Tina Mitchell, and that is your Money Chat. Coming up next on the Money Hour panel conversation with Cheri Christensen of Decorview and Laurie Hardie of Coach Laurie, right here on 1150 AM KKNW. You are listening to the Money Hour on 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, October 1st show. You can also listen to my show podcast, Facebook premiere, or my show on my show YouTube channel. In addition, for more information on upcoming events, you can go to tinamitchellevents.com. I am your host and local mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell. It is a great day to talk about money, and that is what my show is all about: how to make money, save money, so you can have a better quality of life for you and your family. If you are hearing my show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast. I'm here to answer any questions or to connect you with the two guests that I have on the show today. Please call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150, or online at themoneyhour.com. And now on my show, panel conversation with my two guests, Cheri Christensen of Decorview and Laurie Hardie of Coach Laurie, right here on 1150 AM KKNW. Welcome both of you to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, very excited to have you. So before we get into our panel conversation, I would love to make a short introduction for both of you. Cheri Christensen is an interior design expert focusing on window coverings in the Pacific Northwest. Cheri has been helping clients cover their windows for over 31 years. And she actually did our windows when we moved into our new home in 2004. She does in-home and virtual consultations and featuring Kirsch products. So a little bit about Cheri, and then a little bit about Laurie, You may recognize Laurie's voice on some of the many Hubbard radio stations, including Warm 106.9, KIXI, and KKNW. She trains people to become life coaches and or recovery coaches, writes books, creates podcasts, YouTube channels, or become successful networking marketers. A little time with Laurie and you will discover gifts and talents that you didn't even realize were a thing. She always ends her radio show with, be curious, ask questions, and always trust your instincts. Again, very excited to have both of you on the show. And I love the panel conversation so that my listeners can get to know a little bit more about you before we get into your individual interviews. So first question, and I'll start out with you, Cheri, what life experience brought you into your line of work?
I started in the fashion clothing industry, and a friend's father worked for a paint and window covering company here and brought me over. So it was really, somewhat accidental, but he roped me in with, because I was working for Nordstrom, and he said, Cheri, we're the Nordstrom of paint. You should come and try this out. And sure enough, I did. And that's how I got into the, interior design and window covering field. And I've found over the years that it's much easier to tell somebody that this color doesn't look good on your window than this look good on your body.
Oh my gosh, I bet. And obviously loving what you're doing over 3 decades in the industry. I'm almost able to say 3 decades. I'm 27 years, so I'm not quite there in the mortgage industry. But yeah, so Laurie, what life experience brought you into your line of work?
When I was a little girl, I had a little transistor radio and I would hear all the DJs, and I wanted to be one, but there were no women DJs back in the day until FM came along. And then all of a sudden I was like, hey, I think her name was Charlie Parker was the first one. She was on a country station. And ever since then, that was something I always dreamed of doing. And I was able to make it happen.
Yeah, that is awesome. And yes, again, listening to Laurie, and she's actually over at Hubbard Radio right now with the interview on my show. And I just feel really honored to have you on my show, Laurie, both of you, but Laurie being in the industry, really appreciate that. So Cheri, how do you manage stress that comes up in your business? There's a lot of different things that are coming up that are stressful with the shift that we're having. And so how do you deal with stress?
Hard to say. It seems crazy, but there isn't a ton of stress in our business, other than back orders or making people wait.
Mm-hmm.
But I just have to take it day by day, and we made it through, the pandemic with everything moving and changing, and I try to just be kind and understanding to people, and help them accept what is the stress. But generally, people are in a pretty good place doing window coverings.
Yeah, well, definitely in the mortgage industry, we live 24 hours at a time. And in this environment, we're hoping that tomorrow will be a little bit better day. But and Laurie, what about you? How do you manage stress in your business?
As a coach, one of the things I learned early on was that daily connection, taking time to either, some people will read something motivational or take some time to just be quiet. So I work really hard at doing that. And I think it's really important when you get connected. Some people do it at night, but for me in the morning. And I was just talking with someone yesterday who does that too. And I go, I've never heard anybody say, hey, I do that every day and it sucks. I wish I wouldn't do it. I don't think it helps. But for me, that deals with stress, because when I get connected, then if people are freaking out. I mean, we've just lived through a difficult time. And like Cheri was saying, she's got customers that she has to, keep happy. I think when we have that connection and we realize that things will work out, they will be what they're going to be, that we can make people feel better and be encouraging rather than taking it personal and going, I don't,
Yeah.
being the one to fall apart. So I think for me, it's that daily connection and working always on my mindset.
Yeah, great advice. And yeah, mindset is so important. If you can create things that take you to a great mindset. And, I always share, just think about the last time that you heard an old favorite song on the radio, and it takes you right back to that moment. And that's what positive triggers and what things that create a great mindset can do for you, is just surround yourself around those things. So when you feel the stress coming on, or even better, to prevent that stress from surfacing, you're creating that positive mindset. So yeah, thank you for that. Cheri, how do you manage your work-life balance?
Really just with the calendar and sticking to, certain times for work, and taking Sundays as just a personal day. That's the only day that I try to, not do work until Sunday night, and then I start to call customers. But just trying to, keep the calendar and still meet all of the customers' needs. But it's been pretty good. And after this amount of time, I've somewhat figured it out.
Yes. Yeah. They say if it's not in writing, it doesn't exist. I say if it's not on your calendar, it doesn't exist. So you have to have those times blocked out for yourself and understand how much time things are taking, so you can allocate the correct time. And yeah, it's highly elastic. And, if you give yourself 30 minutes to get something done, most likely you'll get it done in 30 minutes. If you give yourself all day to get it done and you don't fill up your time with anything else, it's going to take you all day. And being in my industry for 27 plus years, I would have never thought that I could actually take an actual business day off. And once we had our grandbaby, Kalina, Friday, I don't schedule any appointments on Friday. And, so yeah, the idea is to be able to work hard and play just as hard. And it's a great life for sure. Laurie, how about you? How do you manage your work-life balance? Because you have a lot on your schedule with everything that you do over at Hubbard Radio, and your coaching, and really making a difference in people's lives through that platform.
One of the things is, I love what you said, if it's on the calendar, but over the weekend, I went to a leadership retreat, and this is so old, but it was a reminder of Stephen Covey, the 7 habits of successful people. And they talked about the quadrant of what's important and urgent and necessary. And I think you talk about this in your course that you teach, is keeping in mind, it's not so much about having a perfect balance, because like right now, my kids are all grown, so I'm not balancing a family, but having balance and making sure there's time for the things that are important. Because if you love what you do, it's really easy to just do that all the time. And so I think it's really being intentional. And like Cheri said, putting that self-care time on your calendar to make sure you do the thing and take the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, everybody's in a different season in their business and in a different season in their life. And, sometimes it's winter and you're going to be doing a little more grind. And, I kind of feel like we're in that winter right now with what's happening in the economy, and, spring and summer. And, so you've got to figure out what season that you're in. You just need to make sure. And as Laurie says, it's not necessarily a balance of 50-50, but you have to have your family in there. You have to have your personal time, and you've got to figure out to make sure that you have those things on a regular basis, because you can't just work, right? Yeah. No matter how much you love it, you're not going to love it for a long time if you don't have anything else going on, but putting all of your energy and resources into your career. So Cheri, how do you, or in what way have you shifted your business from the original plan that you might have had when you started over 30 years ago?
When I started, I was not in home. And for the past 22 years, I've been in home. And I thought that's the only place we would go. And since the pandemic, bringing virtual into the business has been a huge shift and blessing for everybody. Because if people don't want to meet with you in person or can't, I spoke with a woman, we had an appointment yesterday, and she was down in Florence, Oregon on the coast, and she could walk me through her house, and it's just pretty amazing and wonderful. And I've done window coverings in Nebraska and Montana. So just now it's kind of limitless. So going to a more virtual state while still doing, in person.
Yeah. And the pandemic is showed what we all know, that you have to continue to change, but majority of people don't change unless the pain is big enough. And then when you're forced to, you do it very quickly. I mean, literally overnight, people were changing to something that we always had the ability to do, so hopefully there was some big lessons that were taken out of that to really embrace change before that pain hits. And you have to be led by that. But yes, it's all the industries. You can have a personal trainer and train with your personal trainer right from home, which, never could have done before. Laurie, what about you? In what way have you shifted your business from what your original plan or idea of what your business was going to look like?
When I first started in radio, that's all I ever wanted to do. And then I got married and had kids, and I wanted to be home, and I lived on an island, so it made it a little more difficult. And there wasn't this ability to record from home. And so that's when I found coaching. And I remember my first headset. It was kind of like the one I'm wearing. It was really big because we didn't have the mobile phones or anything. But I wanted to do coaching because I could do it from home with my kids. And to me, what has been so interesting is that's also where I found network marketing, because I would use a product and tell people about it. And they're like, I want some of that. And so I remember when I became a coach, the first book I bought was, it said have multiple streams of income. And so then as my kids got older and I wanted to do radio, like I wanted to do maybe a radio coaching show, all of a sudden you could record from home. And now I have 5 podcasts that I'm either on or help with. And I watched during the pandemic people that were like, I am not going to go online. And now they're excellent at Zoom.
Yes.
And so for me, it has been such an amazing thing, because I encourage people to leave their legacy, whether that's a YouTube channel, a podcast, or just telling stories. And so that you can pass down to your kids or your grandkids. I call them grandpods. And just encouraging people to leave that legacy, because so we're not together and we're not sharing stories like we used to, but we still want to leave those stories. And so it's so much easier. I mean, you can do it with your phone. It's so wonderful. So for me, the pivot has been more from going from like this professional that only certain people can do it to helping everybody be able to do it.
Yeah, that is beautiful. Thank you, Laurie. Well, coming up next on the Money Hour, lift your shades without lifting a finger. I'm going to be having a conversation with Cheri Christensen of Decorview right here on 1150 AM KKNW. You're listening to the Money Hour at 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, October 1st show. You can also listen to my show podcast, Facebook premiere, or you can catch my show on my show YouTube channel. In addition, for more information on upcoming events, you can go to tinamitchellevents.com. I'm your host and local mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell. I'm here to help you build a strong financial blueprint, 1 week and 1 show at a time. If you are hearing my show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast. I'm here to answer any questions or connect you with the guests that I have on the show. Please call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150, or online at themoneyhour.com. And now in studio, Cheri Christensen of Decorview. Lift your shades without lifting a finger, right here on 1150 AM KKNW. Excited to have a conversation with you, Cheri, and your business, and how you're helping people make their homes beautiful with beautiful window treatments. So can blinds and shades help with temperature of a home?
Absolutely. Yes. Um, and with the winter coming up, if you keep your shades closed, especially like a cellular shade, you can keep your heat in the winter, and you can help keep the heat out in the summer. And here in the Pacific Northwest, we know we've been getting warmer and warmer temperatures throughout our summers, and it really makes a big difference. I've tested it in my home.
Yeah, well, it does make a difference. And as you know, because you've done our blinds, we have over 80 windows in our house. And so depending on your spouse, sometimes I don't want to have the blinds closed because I want to see the beautiful view outside. But my husband's always reminding me, in the winter, it's keeping our house warm. And in the summer, he's wanting to close them because it's keeping the house cool. I'm like, dang it. So what is your most popular product right now?
Our most popular, I think, just volume of sales is cellular shades, like what you've got in your house and what I have in my house. The versatility is huge, but we have a huge growth category, which is shutters. And here in the Pacific Northwest, people haven't been shutter crazy like they are currently. And people always thought shutters are for Arizona and California and where it's super sunny and hot. Florida, Texas, yes. And lately I have been doing so many shutters for people, and they're beautiful.
Yeah.
And they're the only value add window covering for your home that will actually be considered in the appraisal. So that's
wow, I didn't know that.
well. Yeah.
So why do you think people all of a sudden in the Pacific Northwest are getting shutters?
I think that the clean simplicity of it and the appeal from outside. They have a beautiful curb appeal from the street.
Okay. So what are the safest products for your home when you're considering young children and pets?
Definitely cordless. October is National Child Safety Month in the window covering industry. So we always have cordless promotions in October, but also automated shades, because then there are no cords that are dangerous to kids and pets. And also just something, when you're vacuuming, then if you have your cords sitting on the floor, they can get caught in the vacuum. So, but back to the safety, it's the cordless and automated shades. Then there's keeping your kids safe.
Yeah, well, thank goodness we did the cordless, because we've got our little grandbaby Colina that we have every Friday and Saturday. So we baby proof, but thank goodness we don't need to figure out how to baby proof our blinds, because we did it right when you did.
It was already done.
Yeah. It was already done and taken care of. Thank goodness. Cheri, can you cover windows from the outside for windows or for your outdoor living areas?
Yes, we do solar screen shades. If you have a beautiful view and you still want to keep it, but be able to block that sun off, the glare on your TV, just from heating up the room inside. And we have privacy shades and automated exterior shades for your outdoor living spaces. And that's been a really huge growth category, again, since the pandemic and when people moved outside to socialize. And now we're getting more and more beautiful outdoor living spaces, and we can get you some privacy from your neighbors for that as well.
Yeah, there's some beautiful spaces of what people do, with their outside and being able to take advantage of it. It's nice to have a whole nother room,
Absolutely.
in addition to your house, which is outside. Yes. Yeah. And, we did the going down from the bottom and from the up option, which is really nice. If you do, have that view that you want some shade, but you want to be able to see the view from the top side or the right.
Down, up.
I do still find those as popular options for people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very.
Yeah.
because again, you can get rid of, even just if you're upstairs in your main bedroom and the street below, you can have blackout shades, drop the shade down from the top, get some privacy in your room, but still get some light and
Yes.
keep a view, beautiful water view or any view you have.
Yeah. So what are the different products that you offer, Cheri?
We go anywhere from drapery, blinds, slatted blinds, shades, and shutters.
Okay. Yeah. And I loved how you really helped me put my vision in place of what I wanted for the actual treatments and what I thought I wanted. You came in and corrected of what would be better, which I really did not want to take your advice, but thank goodness I did, because it turned out to be much better than what I was envisioning for what I
Thank you.
did. And that's really what the designer is, really a great designer is all about, is coming in and being able to have a vision of what really is going to be best in the house, and then communicating with you in a way that they'll actually listen and take your advice, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So if you live outside in the greater Seattle area, and we can do, you're doing virtual consultations, right? We talked
Yes.
about that. Yeah. So now
Yeah.
you're being able to open up to where you can really work with anybody.
Yes,
Yeah.
which is really exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you provide installation as well?
Yes, and we have installers nationwide, so we can reach all parts of the country, unless it's very, very, very remote.
Uh-huh.
But I've sent installers, 200 miles to install shutters or window coverings. So it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, yeah. So talk about, because we had a couple windows that were uniquely shaped. So talk about that. Can you put blinds and window treatments pretty much on anything in the
Shutters
shape,
are
or?
the most versatile. We can do circle, oval. We here in the Northwest, we have a lot of Northwest contemporary houses with angle top windows, and we can do angle top windows with multiple different products. Shutters and cellular shades are the largest categories, which have the most shapes that they can cover, but we also have like horizontal shadings that are beautiful, sheer faced, sheer back with a soft fabric vein in between. We can do those in specialty shapes as well.
Okay. And what do you see as the up and coming for shades and window treatments right now?
I think shutters is definitely our product with the
And what
strongest
about window treatments? Are you seeing less? When I say window treatments,
fabric.
that would be the appropriate call for the fabric.
Drapery.
Yeah. Are you seeing people doing less of the window treatments?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. And
And
why
instead of drape,
why is that? What are?
the cost has gone up quite a bit.
Okay.
So some are cost prohibitive in our custom drapery. And because the people are now able to have so many more DIY options for drapery and fabrics, that they can just do a pole and put some side panels, and they're very inexpensive. So sometimes, when a full custom treatment is just not where everybody wants to focus with their money.
Yes.
And, it might be like, well, we'd rather have an AC unit in our home and we'll just do the shades and something simple on the side. So I think the ability for some of the DIY has taken out some of the drapery, and people are just really loving a clean and simplified design.
Yeah, which is more in the line with things going more modern, and more modern is less is more.
Less, absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. So what do you enjoy most about what you do, Cheri?
The people, my customers,
Yeah.
actually. It's less to do with the actual product than meeting people and just helping somebody is what I really.
Yeah, when we were in the panel conversation, we were talking about stress in business and how you deal with that. And you'd mentioned, there's really not a lot of, stress in your business, which is great. And you said, except for, maybe in the installation and the delivery, are you dealing with issues with supply and the supply chain? And how is that impacting your industry, time wise of getting blinds versus maybe what we used to be able to do before? What challenges you're having there?
We're really coming back, and we're at pre-pandemic delivery times
Uh-huh.
for, I would say, 90% of our product. So that is very exciting to be
Yeah.
back
So what does
into
that look like time wise? What should people expect?
about 6 weeks.
Okay.
Our contracts say 8 weeks, but for most products, they are installed within 6 weeks. And that was pre-pandemic timing. So we got up to about 13, 14 weeks during the pandemic, and that was actually stressful.
Yeah, absolutely. So where's majority of your business come from? Do you work with a lot of builders and their clients, or what is your main source?
We do, we have a lot of channel partners, retailers, so national
Okay.
retailers that we service, and just our own website, but mostly it's our service partners that we work with.
Yeah, because I was trying to think back when we got ours. I can't remember how I was introduced to you, and I thought maybe it was the builder connection.
No, I think it was just your husband found us online.
Oh, okay. All righty. So as I'm wrapping up with my time with you, Cheri, for anybody that's listening to the show right now and they're thinking about window treatments or blinds, how do they get in contact with you, and what does that look like? Is there a cost for the initial consultation? What does that look like?
There is no cost for the initial consultation, and they can book through our website, which is decorview.com. And just with their area, they'll set you up with a designer, and you can request me. There are a couple other designers in the area, and then we have designers nationwide. So right through our website, and there is never any cost for the consultation.
Yeah, wonderful. And, as we've shared as well, with everything going virtual, there's no difference with working with Cheri and her team as well. So you literally can do everything virtually and show your house, and you can get the information that you need from your clients virtually, correct?
Yes. Yeah. And if people just want to start with a virtual consultation and then end up in person, we can do that well.
Absolutely. Well, Cheri, thank you so much for coming into my show and sharing how you're making a difference in people's lives by making their homes more beautiful, more efficient, which is saving money. And everybody could use a little bit of that right now. So thank you for coming in. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, wonderful. All right, coming up next on the Money Hour, multiple streams of income. I have Laurie Hardie of Coach Laurie right here on 1150 AM KKNW. You are listening to the Money Hour at 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, October 1st show. You can also listen to my show podcast, my Facebook premiere, or you can catch my show on my show YouTube channel. In addition, for more information on upcoming events, you can go to tinamitchellevents.com. I am your host and local mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell. I bring into studio each week the best of the best experts in our local market on everything regarding your money. And now in studio, Laurie Hardie of Coach Laurie, multiple streams of income, right here on 1150 AM KKNW. Laurie, again, excuse me, excited to have you here on my show. Back in the day, I used to see you every week. I'd come back and pop in there and see you in your studio. We'd hang out and have some girl talk because I was recording right down the hall from you. And look at me, Laurie, I've never gone back. I'm still virtual. What the heck? I miss going into Hubbard. Lots of activity over there. So thanks for being here.
Thank you. It's so great to see you.
Yeah, likewise, you too. So what is the advantage of multiple income streams? What does that look like?
I I'm so glad you asked that question.
Yeah.
When I became a life coach, the first book I read had a section about multiple streams of income. And what I loved about it was if one thing dries up, for instance, we saw this in COVID. If you had one job and it went away, you maybe could get unemployment, but you were in trouble. And so I think it's a little different than working 7 jobs, and as a single mom, I always try to coach women to have like a job and then a side hustle, so to speak. It could be network marketing. It could be like so many women have things that they do and they make an Etsy store and they can make money doing that. Or different, we have the ability to work online. So if we have different things we do, if one source happens to dry up, which we hope would never happen, we can still make it. And, if some people it's investing, they maybe do the stock market or they just have investments. And so I always try to encourage, especially single moms, to have more than one thing, because in the first segment, you talked about stress. When we have stress when our money is tight. And as a single mom, I remember, baseball season's coming. Am I going to have enough to get the kids, what they need for baseball? And, there are lots of scholarships and stuff, but if we can find side hustles and things that we love, and as a coach, so I teach people to become coaches. And then I am a coach. And so those are 2 different things. I have coaching programs, and I think that it's just really important to broaden. And so for me, I'm sort of all over the place and I could do a lot at once. I mean, I can multitask. Not everybody can do that, but I still think even if you're not that kind of person, you could still have some sort of side hustle that you make a little extra money, even if it's just to stash away for hard times.
Absolutely. Yeah. I remember growing up back in the day when you had the Sears catalog, that's what you looked at for what you wanted for Christmas. And we couldn't pick anything that had batteries because it's, the idea of buying batteries. And, then our Happy Meal at McDonald's, we split a Happy Meal. Thank goodness I was the older sister. So you can probably guess who got the toy in the Happy Meal. I was not a nice older sister, but yeah. So if my mom had a side hustle, it definitely would have made it a little bit easier for her, for sure. So Laurie, how important is it to do what you love, to be driven by passion?
I almost feel like I could throw that back at you, Tina, because that's the connection you and I have, whether it's volunteering or, I'm so lucky because all of the things I do, I absolutely love. Like I don't have one job I hate, but the others make up for it. I love everything I do. And it changes the quality of your life when you love what you do. And to me, what the saddest thing is when someone goes, oh, I hate my job, but I get the insurance. It breaks my heart. And I'm not one of those people that would say, my favorite podcast actually is Don't Keep Your Day Job. She talks about, doing what you love, but I wouldn't say drop your job and just go, transition.
You have to be smart about it.
Right. And I want to hear what you have to say too, because I feel like, you do this money hour and sometimes money can be kind of boring, but you are so about living your passion.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Laurie. I just got goosebumps when you gave me a shout out there. And I just visualized and put myself right back in that time that we spent together, because it was really a special time and definitely kindred spirits. Yeah. When you're in a place that you can come from a place of contribution, it makes a difference in other people's lives, but you have no idea the difference that it's going to make in your life. And I feel that I have received so much more from being able to come from a place of contribution. And I feel fortunate. I've done, really well in the mortgage industry, and I'm really great with my time. And so I'm able to create this space, block on my calendar, for my community outreach platform, which is everything that I do complimentary, from my time management and business efficiency coaching, personal mastery coaching, this platform right here, and showcasing people's business, sharing my story, tragedy to triumph. And so, it's important that you get into an industry that you love and you're passionate about, and then be able to take pieces out of that you can bring in and be able to contribute to other people.
One of the things I really remember is when you had decided to tell your story, but you didn't really want to. Because
Yes.
one of the things in legacy is and working with people in recovery is telling your story matters, even if you think it's a bad story. Like I used to, it was a lot of the women are like, I used to steal and I have a felony. And, but I remember I was so impacted when you said you didn't really want to share your story. And then you did, and someone was going to come listen. And you're like, you didn't really want
Yeah.
them to hear your story. But what touched me so much, and I think why we connected on this level, is the power in you being so vulnerable about a time that was really difficult for you,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
how you were able to turn it around. And think of all the women. Well, I happen to know so many of the women that you shared your story with that were
Mhm.
coming out of drugs and alcohol, and it gave them hope.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Laurie. And yeah, it was 1985 when I started in the mortgage industry, and it wasn't until 2015 that, and it was because I was afraid that what real estate agent would want to send me business if they knew that I didn't graduate from high school. I had drug issues. My first husband was incarcerated. Nobody even knew that I had a daughter that died, because if I brought that up, then I would have to share my whole story. And it wasn't until Leslie Hancock over at Windermere Real Estate, a top real estate agent that I was trying to earn her business, asked me to come in and to share how to be successful in business with her nonprofit organization, the House of Hope, in Mama's Hands. And I thought, I can't drive up my Jaguar and not share my story. But the problem is Leslie Hancock was going to be there. And I had to get away out of my own way and go, you know what, I've got to be there for the women and not worry about what's going to happen for me on the other end. And that changed everything. Literally now I'm an open book, and I wouldn't have had an opportunity to put together my keynote. And thank you for being one of the first ones to get me one of my first keynotes, which then inspired me moving forward. So yeah, it's a beautiful thing. Get out there, do what you're passionate about, and lead with who you are, your uniqueness and your specialness, and all the things that you think might be embarrassing or that you don't want to share. Those are the things that you need to share, because when you're vulnerable, people are going to connect to your vulnerability, and then they are going to feel comfortable in sharing their most vulnerable moments as well. And that's when you're really going to be able to make a difference in someone's life. And on the other turn, it's making a difference in your life by going through that experience. So let's talk about volunteering and fitting this into your model, because Laurie, one thing that inspired me most about you was all of the volunteer work that you do. And I knew everything that you had on your plate, and being a single mom and the challenges that you had to go through in that, and still coming from a place of contribution with volunteering and your time, which time is limited, right? So share about that.
I think what you said was so great earlier. You said the surprise, you go and you give and you do. And when I was a single mom, I was volunteering at this organization, and I didn't want to tell them that for a while I was homeless. I was sleeping in my car. My kids, I'd put them with relatives. And, I didn't want to tell them, because same thing, I didn't want them to think bad of me, but I'm tying up bags and I'm filling up things. And they said, hey, could you recover these chairs? And I was like, who can't recover a chair? Well, they couldn't. And then they wanted to pay me. And I'm like, no. But what happened is, because I was so willing to give back, I mean, I just wanted to, do something, because I felt like a loser. And what happened is, then they heard about this job with Big Brother, Big Sister, and they said, hey, why don't you apply for it? And I'm like, why would they hire me? Look, I'm your charity case. And, and then that worked out. And from there, doing that job just blessed my heart so much, because you feel like, you feel like, you see that there's a need there, but when you feel that need, you're getting almost more back. And so that's when I went and I'd already got the coaching certificate, and I got a bachelor's degree. And I tell people who are unemployed, go volunteer. And they go, I can't, I gotta work at getting a job. I go, I guarantee you, if you go volunteer somewhere you love, you will get a job. And
Yes.
I believe that with everything in me.
Yeah, absolutely. And isn't it interesting? Our biggest downfall, if something's going to take us down, it's ourself. It's our own securities and the own conversations that we're having with ourselves that are just not true. And most of the time, the exact opposite of what we are thinking. So what did you learn in COVID about having options?
the other job I have here at the station, I'm so fortunate. I get to do the public affairs. So I get to highlight all of these nonprofits.
Uh-huh.
And I watched every one I interviewed. Okay, it was time for all of their galas in March, April, May. And they all had to pivot. They had to figure something out. And I have always said because I do traffic in the afternoon on Warm, I always said job security because we are always going to have traffic. Guess what? There was no traffic.
There was no traffic.
A lot of people got let go during COVID. And every time I'd see the boss, I'd think, this is it. And, I think that the beauty of it is realizing, number one, I had determined in my heart, if that did happen, I would be fine because I had multiple streams of income. And I always know everything works out, in the end. But that, just watching the resilience of people and the amazing ideas people came up with to pivot their galas, to do different things to make money. And one thing I love to say this about the Pacific Northwest, every charity that was local said, we are the most generous people here in the Pacific Northwest, that even during COVID, people opened their pocketbooks, people gave back, and they helped out. And that to me was just so beautiful to see that, even when, a lot of times people are like, well, when I start making money, I'll give back.
Yes.
And I think if we give back first, I think the rest all falls into place.
It all falls into place. And I heard from a lot of nonprofit organizations that they had some of their biggest years in contribution when they were doing those virtual galas. So I have less than 2 minutes left with you, Laurie, and I would just love to give you this time just to talk to my listeners that are listening right now, and what's most important in your heart to share with them.
I would say believe in yourself. Tell your story. I mean, think about Tina. Here she is in this mortgage business, afraid to tell her realtor her story. Tell your story, and maybe tell it with somebody really safe, but share your story and know that somehow, some way you want to pass that down to your kids. If you want to write a book, do a podcast, do a YouTube channel, I can help you with all of that. But you can also go and watch a YouTube channel and learn how to do it. But tell your story and find a way, hire a coach. I mean, I'm a coach, but I think everybody would benefit from having a coach, because they are for you. They encourage you. They build you up. They make you think you're more awesome than you think you are. And who doesn't want that?
Exactly. And they're able to look from the outside perspective and outside of your space to really see the small changes and adjustments you need to make to get to that next level of really living the life that you were designed to live. Laurie, how somebody listening to the show that right now that wants to connect with you, how do they do that?
My email address is probably best. It's Lorianne, LACOACH at Comcast.net, or you can find me on Facebook at Coach Laurie.
Wonderful. Laurie, thank you so much. It was an honor and a pleasure to have a conversation with you and share it with my listeners.
Oh, ditto. Thank you.
Yeah. Please call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150, or you can go online to themoneyhour.com and I can connect you with either one of the guests that I had on the show today. Tina Mitchell, your host and local mortgage expert. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. I look forward to talking more money with you next weekend right here on 1150 AM KKNW.